But you'll never know, 'cause even when I'm gone, I still love her so. 'Cause I'm going where heroes never die.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Holding On for a Hero. This is our podcast that we're about to start now. This is going to be the first episode, and we're just going to kind of go through it and explain it. It's been my dream a little bit now to create a podcast that can be a safe place for first responders, last responders, whether you're search and rescue, recovery units, it doesn't matter. What we go through on a daily basis is not an easy thing to deal with on the job or once you get home. It's not just about first responders. This is for anybody. We just want to create a safe space for anybody. Doesn't matter what you do. Everybody has a hard time, and there's different ways that I've dealt with things. There's different ways that my co-hosts have dealt with things, and we just want to really create this place where people can contact us on the podcast, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, whether it's email. If you want to be a part of the podcast and come on and talk about it, whether it's over the phone, or we just talk about what you've brought to the table kind of thing. We want to create this spot where you can understand who we are, hear our stories, connect with the people we bring in, connect with us and understand how we feel and how we deal with things, and maybe that can help you. And if what we say doesn't help you, contact us and we'll talk to you about whatever you want to say. If you want to, we want to be public about it. If you want to be anonymous, we have no problems. But this is just mental health matters, and I don't think we take it seriously enough. And whether it's in our departments, at our jobs, at home. I've always been the tough skin and said, like, let's worry about it later. Let's talk about it never. And that's not a good way to do about it. And I've had to go through things recently where I had to talk about it. I had to bring it up, and it's gotten me through. And the reason that it has been because of people I work with. And that's brought me here to Holding On for a Hero, where I have good friends with me, like Jason McLaughlin, who's going to be our co-host on my left over here, and another co-host, Marisha Claus. She's Santa Claus's first wife and divorced, but nobody cares about that. And another friend of mine called Brendan Carmody, who is not here today because he's out on a movie set doing some stunts. But we're just going to break down what we do, who we are. We work at a company and a bunch of different companies. We work for departments. We have ex-military. We have firefighters. We have search and rescue. We have police detectives. We have sergeants. We have everybody, divers. We have everybody around us at different levels. Some experienced, some are super experienced, some are retired, some are still on the job. And I really think that can get into helping everybody at a certain level. Definitely having people around me that are more experienced dealing with these things on a daily basis. I can speak to because I feel like they're family, and that's where I work is Pegasus Rescue. And I am also a firefighter. I'm also search and rescue. I'm a rope tech. We deal with movie stars. We work on film sets. We respond to structure fires. We deal with high angle, low angle. We deal with everything. And I've had the experience of working with a lot of great people, learning all these great skills and furthering my career down the road. And I've dealt with things that, whether it's personal life or if it's on the job, it all affects you. And that's what this podcast is kind of going to get. It's going to create this safe space. And we're going to bring people on that can talk about, their experiences. And Marisha can explain a lot of her stories. Jason can explain. Jason is ex-military. Jason's search and rescue. Jason's a firefighter. Almost RCMP at one time. And then we have Marisha, who is she's a rescue diver. She is everything dive, under the water. I don't know about above water. She doesn't do very much, but under the water and everything. But
eat it, Bryson.
Yeah,
we have
exactly.
we have Carmody, who's becoming a rope tech, and he's getting into search and rescue. But he's come from a world of film as a kid with his dad being a producer, and he's grown up in film, and now he's coming to this side of things, and it comes in full circle. So let's start talking about how, Jason, how you've experienced with all the stuff with from being in the military, then creating Pegasus, and everything that's gone on in your story.
Well, yeah, I mean, I started off in the fire department. I got in pretty early. I was only 18 when I got on, and I was there as a volunteer for quite a few years, and then also joined into the military as a reservist. So I was kind of doing both at the same time, and then ended up full time with Caledon Fire Department with the training division and as a training officer. And then 9/11 happened, and I think it changed the like everybody's lives, not just down the States, but up here in Canada too. I mean, everybody went on to high alert. Things like the security here in Canada, a bunch of shit changed around. So I got recruited into it's like an armed security team basically for the military, and it was based at the nuclear plant. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of been through a lot of it, and then as I fizzled out of that because I just didn't want to be stuck up at a nuclear plant my whole life, that I got more into the search and rescue side of things. So then finally I'd had enough of the military and the fire department. I was planning to go back to the fire department, but I got into the movies and started Pegasus and never looked back. I mean, it's been almost 20 years now doing Pegasus, and it's been really cool because we get to bring together all of the skills we learned in the fire department and in the military and stuff, and search and rescue. So all those skills are we still use them every day while we're on set and stuff. So it's kind of cool to have an outlet for that kind of stuff. As far as the mental health side of it, I saw a lot of bad things when I was a lot younger. And, at the time, you're a teenager going through this at early 20s, and you're like, oh, man, this is pretty gross.
Do you think that affected any of your choices? Why you stopped with the military, why you went into film and a little bit more? Do you think any of that kind of affected you to that level, to no mind? Or were you, because like I have a godfather who like is the reason that I kind of got into fire is because he was a firefighter. So I grew up going down the street, going to see him at the fire hall, washing the trucks, blah, blah, blah. So I saw that. And now with me being in the fire department and him being retired now, when we have a conversation, he'll talk about a story and he'll just be like, yeah, this guy was speeding down the road and we got pulled up to the scene and he was just cut in half, and he's still talking a little bit and blah, blah, blah. And he just tells the story just like, no big deal. Saturday afternoon, having a beer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the way he tells the story, and nothing affects it. And he's dealt with so many things, and I'm just like listening to the story and he's just like, doesn't care. Like, not that he didn't care about the person or the situation, but it didn't affect him. It doesn't seem like in any way when he tells a story. And I'm just like, how can you tell a story like that?
Well,
and
you
it just
think
be like,
it didn't affect him.
Where it's just like, I was walking into Pegasus the other day and I tripped over Jason's boot that was in the hallway. That's how he told the story about this person that was cut in half and he was responding to him. That's how he told the story. Just like, oh yeah, I just tripped over Jason's boot when I walked in the hallway at work today.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of true. There's definitely different. People deal with it differently. I was fortunate enough that it hasn't really affected me yet. I am, even when at home at nighttime, I find I don't sleep that great because I'm always on high alert. Mm-hmm. And I think it's more because you see the evil in the world and the bad things in the world, and you want to be able to protect your family and yourself, and you're always on alert.
Yeah.
I like at the time, like I don't sit there and see blood and go, oh my God, I can't look. Mm-hmm. It's totally different. Like you're there and you're there to help people. And I think that's kind of been the driving force behind Pegasus and why I started Pegasus is because I've always had this thing where no matter who you are, we're going to get into these bad situations at some point in our lives. And I just want to have the tools to be able to help people. And that's kind of just what all emergency responders do is we just deal with emergencies all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's it definitely makes you stronger and more resilient to it. But, you know, I'm sure at a point where you're seeing a lot of bad things all the time that it's going to start to take a toll.
Yeah.
But luckily, we don't have that many bad, gross things happening in the film industry. I mean,
most of the time. But I like what you said there when you said that, you know, that's the way you kind of are bred. Like, you know, you're always on high alert, because that kind of feeds into what Mara and I were talking about most recently, is that like the job of a first responder and like fire and stuff like that is basically, it's something that, you know, you were born for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't be trained to be a firefighter. You can train to learn things that firefighters do, but that's either something you were born with or you were born without. And that's why I feel like it's, the fire department has kind of chimed in where like everybody can do this job. It's, you know, all you have to do is try. And it's just like, no, like you're going into a building, your brain is telling you, get out, go save yourself to everybody. Right. And your brain is working the same way everybody else's does. But there's a chosen few where it says, I'm going in when everybody else is going out.
yeah. Oh,
You know what I
definitely.
mean?
Yeah.
And that's what they're not preaching that anymore. That's just like, oh, anybody can do this job if they try, where it's not. There's certain people that I've seen and I've worked with. You have it or you don't. You were born with it or you don't have it. There's other things that you can do in emergency services, maybe that will give you the need that you need to be in emergency services, but maybe that job is not. Like I went through recruit class for my fire department, and we went to live fires, and guys were afraid of fire.
Yeah.
And our training officers, it's like, what? Like, why are you here if this is bothering you? Like, what? Like, well, it got hot in there. It got hot in there.
Yeah.
It got hot in there. I had a guy that I was training with hazmat, and he was complaining about a hazmat suit. He goes, it's hot in there. I'm like, do you not want to be a firefighter? Are you not training to do this and then you're going to be a firefighter? Yeah, I'm going to be a firefighter. But it's so hot in there, I can't wear the suit anymore.
He
Do you
just
want
wants
to
to
go
be in
into
the
a
calendar.
fire? You want to wear a snowsuit in the middle of a blazing fire, and you don't think it's going to get hot? I'm like, you need to rethink your options. Where it's like these people that they either have seen someone do it, or my problem is that the fire department trains you, they send you to school, they take your money, but they don't put you on a ride along. They don't. So you only have this Hollywood version of a fire department. You have Backdraft. You have Chicago Fire. That's your version of the fire department until you actually get on the department and you actually start riding those trucks. Right? Where at least the paramedics, where they actually do the ride-alongs and they can, you know, this is what it's like. This is what it's like. You don't like it. And I've had guys that have gone through their paramedic school. They've done their ride-alongs and they're like,
Well, I
not
think
like I
like people don't know how they're going to react
Mm-hmm.
in an emergency situation until you're in one, right? And I think that's what you're talking
think about it now. Think about it when you're applying. So you're paying for your preschool now, right? You're applying to different departments. So you're paying money every single time. So Mississauga, Toronto, blah, blah, blah. You're paying each time. Maybe they want you to write the York test. Maybe they want you to write this test. Maybe they want you. There's all these different tests. They're like $1,500, $800 here, $800. All these prices. So how much money have you spent already to apply to a job, right? Just apply to a job. Not even get an interview. Apply to a job for something you don't even know if you like, because you haven't done it yet.
It's
Because
not,
you just
it's
read
not
the Hollywood
even
version.
if you like it or not. Just like, are you made up of like, do you have the constitution to do this job?
But it's
right?
hard to know. It's hard to know. Do you like I thought I would really like driving a Mercedes. I really thought I would like driving a
I would
Mercedes
really
car,
like
right?
driving
So I always thought
Mercedes.
that was a really cool car. I was dating a girl. She got a Mercedes. I drove the Mercedes. I'm like, I don't like it as much as I thought I'd like it, right? Because you don't know, because you just saw the outside, what it looks like. It's shiny. It looks really cool. It's really expensive, but it wasn't that great to drive. So it's like, until you actually do the job,
Yeah,
how
you
can
don't know.
So it's like, yeah. So what you're doing at pre-service is not
how
enough.
how do you know unless you try, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But like a lot of times is people get it confused. Like they think that we have a hero complex or a god complex.
Yeah, I get that all the time.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think it's so much like a hero or a god complex, whatever. It's you gotta train and you gotta have it. I think it's definitely like in your brain or in your heart that you really truly want to help someone. You will do whatever it takes to help people. But there's a code too that, you know what I mean? Like, you will help save savable lives. You will not, put your life in danger in order to save a life that is not, should I say, not worth saving, but like savable. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody's already burnt and they're dead, and they're obviously, there's no point in risking your life for something like that. Like, if there's a savable life, you will take every precaution you can to, or every risk you can to try to save that life. But again, that's, I think, where a lot of people get confused with this hero or god complex. We don't think we're heroes or gods. There's just some people that have their heart into the job where they just truly want to help people. And they will do whatever they can to help people. And that takes a special kind of person to do that job.
100%. And but then again, within the word of hero that you're referring to, I think people put that in the bad realm of like, well, I think of hero, I think of firefighters, I think of first responders. I don't think of Superman. I don't think of Batman and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's what people tie it into, again, is the Hollywood version of what they're putting this word to. And they're like, oh, you're going to jump in and do this unbelievable save that Superman could not do because he's not a real human, and like he would have died 5 times doing this, blah blah blah. It's like, but that's what people are chiming into, and then they're like, oh, you think you're a hero because you're a firefighter. Like, I've gotten that at Bass Pro when I'm just like, oh, do you have the first responders discount? And people are just like, oh, so you're a hero, so you think you get like a discount? And I'm like, I'm saving the tax, first of all. It's not like the States where they get like almost like a 50%. Yeah, it was like a 45 or 50% at Bass Pro, right? Or they're just like, here, have it because you're a hero, right? Where it's like, I'm saving the tax, first of all, and I'm not saying that. But it's like, people are tying hero into being like this superhero thing that, you have to like get a Purple Heart to be a hero. Or it's like any guy who signs up for the military, in my idea, is a hero because he's putting that service in that so many others have done and helping your country and blah, blah, blah. And again, helping your community, whether it's fire or police or blah, blah, blah. It's, you're dedicating something and you're putting through an oath and all that other stuff. But people are tying it to, again, a Hollywood story, a Hollywood hero, or it's just like, oh, you think you're Superman. Oh, you think you're Batman. No. I just want to be the firefighter that gets on the truck every day when the bell rings. I just want to respond to the radio when that comes through as a police officer for this call. It doesn't have to be, a 9/11 attack, blah, 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 that I'm responding to. It could be as simple, this guy has a drug problem and I said those few words that clicked in his head that made a difference and he got off the drugs and made a change.
Do you know what this reminds me of? So where were we at? Kelso, and there were people that were going to be working close to the edge, but we had stanchions. We're like, you can't go beyond here, and therefore no one's going to get hurt. And somebody asked you why you're not wearing your harness.
Yeah.
Because the idea was, well, what if someone gets too close to the edge and they fall? You're going to jump after them, right? It's like, no.
Yeah, so
not a bungee jump.
No, so that was the thing. So the actors, so the production was in the questioning of, did they need to wear a harness in this situation? And Stunts is already there. Stunts has already gotten harnesses ready. You got lines out. We hooked up the lines, put them to anchors, and then we gave them a spot so they could connect. And they were connected. They had everything set up. They brought the actors out to take a look at it. And the production comes over to me and they say, hey, do we have to put these guys in harnesses? Because technically they're far enough back and there's a parapet there, so we don't have to put them in a harness. Because it was on a building.
I think we're thinking about two different things.
Okay, but this is the same story anyways, either way, because we get this a lot. But we were on a roof at a parapet, and the production says, do we have to put them in a harness? And I said, they're closer than 6 feet, but they are pretty close to 6 feet. They're not running. They're walking out very slow, at a very, very slow pace, one of them, and one of them is sitting. And she's like, would you care if they wore a harness or not? And I said, well, to be honest, I said, I'm taking care of crew. Stunts is responsible for the actors. So I said, technically you want to ask Stunts. So Stunts came over and they said the same thing to Stunts, and Stunts said, what do you think? And I said, I'm fine with it, but that's again, not my call. So they said, guess we'll call the production company. So they called down to LA. And meanwhile, where they're having this conversation with LA, the one safety lady comes over to me and she goes, if the actors aren't going to be in harnesses, you're still going to wear your harness though, right? And I said, I mean, I can. I have it
Like,
on right
what
now.
for?
But I'm like, I don't know what purpose it serves. And she goes, well, but if they do fall over when they don't have a harness on, you're going to jump over and you're going to catch them before they hit the bottom. And I was like, what? I'm like, no, I'm going to race down to the bottom. I'm going to get a shovel and I'm going to scoop up the pancake at the bottom of the freaking sidewalk. I'm like, I don't think you understand how physics works. I said, like, I don't care how fast I jump or how many donuts I have in my mouth. I'm not catching those people before they hit the bottom, even with the bungee. And I'm like, and I didn't pack a bungee today.
Was there a certain amount of donuts that you had to have?
Yeah, I think it's like 12 donuts. You know, a baker's dozen, right? That's why they come with the baker's dozen. But it's like she asked that question, and I was like, she goes, "Oh yeah, I guess that would make sense." And I'm like, I've had that question multiple times though. I've had that question multiple times. Are you going to jump after them and catch them
It's like
when they don't have
unrealistic
any harnesses on?
expectations.
What's that?
Unrealistic expectations.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you're the hero, you're here, you're the safety people, you're gonna like
Yeah.
rescue them, right? And it's like
Yeah.
not in that situation.
Well, I think like a lot of the safety people that they hire from like the studio that is in charge of health and safety, basically, they look at us to make sure everybody is safe and stuff. But they don't have a clue.
No.
Like they're like, oh, we're on a rooftop. Well, there's got to be rooftops, and they're looking at us to make sure it's safe. Or same with on the water. Like there's no. There's the ministry regulations where you're within 6 feet. The parapet is like only 2 feet high. You got to be tied off or whatever. Yeah, there's that, but there's we're never in that exact description. There's always something dynamic about a film set that if you don't need to be near the edge, don't go near the edge. Just stay way back. And, a lot of times putting down lines everywhere is more of a trip hazard than it is doing anybody good.
Yeah, so we've had that happen before too,
Yeah.
where we have to say, no, we can't put down any more lines because we're just going to be creating more issues than we're...
Well, underwater,
protecting.
especially in the pool,
Yeah.
like when we're filming in like very shallow water, and then the standards require that all the divers are on harnesses with lifelines, but then you start creating an entanglement hazard. How do you pull somebody out if they're wrapped up in someone else's lines?
Yeah.
You have to make a decision based on your experience.
Yeah, and that usually gets like laid over to us because it's like, no, they don't know. And they're looking at us like, is this okay? It's like, well, you tell me. If you think you're going to fall over the edge,
Yeah.
then
If you're
don't
going to
go
walk
near the edge.
past the
Yeah.
part we told you don't walk past,
No,
then
I had a safety lady too. The same thing. I like saw her out of the corner of my eye and having a conversation, and we're working with all these other people here, right? We have them harnessed off and all that other stuff, and they're working safely and stuff. And I got her out of the corner of my eye, but she's over here, and she keeps looking to her left, and that's where the edge of the roof is, kind of thing. But she's like 10 feet away from it, right? And she just keeps staring to her left, and I got Frankie's talking in my ear, and I just keep like listening to what he's saying, but I'm watching her out of the corner of my eye without like staring at her the whole time, right? So eventually she stops having the conversation she's having with whoever, and I go over and I walk over and I introduce myself, and she introduced, because we had only spoken through emails, right? We hadn't met, but I knew who she was just from the way she was acting, right? So then she comes over and she starts talking to me, and she goes, I was getting a little worried. And I was like, oh yeah? And she goes, well, yeah. It's like, I was so close to the edge, and like, there's no railings there. And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, well, aren't you going to set up like a railing or a line or something? And I was like, I mean, we can put up a bump line, like just 10 feet off if you really want to. But I said, like, right now we're not shooting today, and we're just doing construction. So everybody's over here. So I'm more concerned about this area than over here where nobody is. And she goes, oh yeah. But she's like, I was just standing over here for like 10 minutes having this conversation with this guy. And at any time, like, I didn't have a harness on and I could have jumped over the edge. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am, I don't think you understand our job. We are not suicidal. We aren't suicidal talkers that are going to talk you off of an edge. We are here to put you in a harness if you choose to be in a harness, and we will tie you off so you can't fall over the edge. If you want to commit suicide, that's a hotline. I was like, that's not why we're here.
I mean, we're there to like assist them to do their work.
Yes, yeah.
We're not there to like
Talk them off the edge.
yeah, exactly. Like if you don't need to be near the edge
Yeah.
for any reason,
Yeah.
then why the hell are you?
Exactly.
Like, get away from the bloody edge. Like, you're a grown ass adult.
Yes.
You don't need me to come over and say, with a measuring stick and say, "Ooh, you're within 6 feet. We're gonna have to put a harness on." It's like, no. If you don't need to be there, get the hell away from the edge.
Yeah, exactly. So going back into what we were talking about, creating the safe space. When you're a volunteer firefighter, you go to the call, you come back from the call, you stock the truck back up, everybody leaves. Everybody goes their separate ways. They go back home, right?
Yep.
You don't talk about anything. You don't have that spot. Not we're in a full-time hall where you go to the call and you're with the guys the rest of the day. So you can talk about something if it's bothering you. You just go home, right? You don't have that safe spot. And even maybe even if you do have that person you can talk to, like even if you are at the hall, maybe you don't feel, because maybe you're the rookie and maybe you don't feel like you can talk about stuff around the senior guys because like, oh, like I can't mention that in front of them. They'll just laugh at me or blah, blah, blah. But did you realize what you were doing with Pegasus is that you bringing in all of these first responders that are either retired or still working or you know what I mean, getting into the field. You brought all of these people in at these different levels and you kind of created like this is why we have the studio and this is why we have headquarters, is basically you created this safe space. I don't even think you realize that you did it. You know what I mean? You made this safe space where people can talk. Like I've spoken to Sean Elliott, I've spoken to Michael Jander, I've spoken to you, I've spoken to Darren Devos. We've had these conversations. And in this
definitely.
closed door building because we've made this family tight unit, you know what I mean? And I don't think you even realized doing it the way you had done it over the last 20 years. I don't think you've realized what you've done, but you've created this safe space for people to talk, have
peer
this conversation
support system.
and move on in
Yeah.
their careers in probably a healthier way because of the people that they had around them. And they only had that because you've created this.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We have like close to 30 guys on the team here now, and a lot of them are either active or retired police and firefighters, and so we have like guys that have got over 30 years experience on the job, and then guys that are, like you said, are just getting on the job, and it's kind of good because there is a few of our guys too that do have PTSD, that have seen some bad stuff, and and I think it's great that we're all able to get together as a team, as a bunch of friends, and have a good laugh, and do our job, like obviously, and do it safely. But we have a laugh in the background. We have some jokes, and we rib each other, and do this. But I think, like you said, it creates like this brotherhood of guys that have been through some shit, and they're able to talk to each other about it because they've also been through it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it does create like a really cool, tight bond of like a brotherhood of the guys, So you can tell guys, like we've had a few commercial divers, that have come work with us that I swear to God, they've never done anything else in their life. And it's just like a bunch of kids, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, wait till they get like a real job and see what it's like to actually do something dangerous.
Well, I think that's where most of the people that have worked Pegasus, like my time was like, you didn't work for Pegasus unless you were a first responder or you have been in your past. You know what I mean? You were only authorized to work here if you have that first responder card.
And
I
then
think
I came along.
well, no, but you're
Yeah,
a rescue, but you're a rescue diver,
No,
and you
it's true.
have that training and you teach people, so you still do understand it. But there are people that came on that didn't have that, and I don't know why they were hired. I wasn't
Jason.
sitting at that table that day. Maybe they just smiled pretty, but
Wow.
they got brought on and they didn't have that. And I think that kind of messed with the realm base, because also I think it put a little nudge under their panties, because they didn't have it and everybody else did. You know what I mean? So they were trying to prove something, I think, to be like, oh, well, I still deserve to be here because.
Yeah, you get those people definitely that we've had on here that you can, right away they've never done anything dangerous like this in their life. And they've always got something to prove. Like they just want to be part of the team. It's like, I think they need to go out and get some
life experience
and discipline before they
100%
start chirping their mouth and going on about, oh, I know this, I'm that, I'm that. If you have to tell people what certifications you have, and it's like right away you're at a loss right there. Like you've lost me.
Yeah, and we've trained some people recently too, where it's like, and not to say that they're not good people and that I don't love them, but like there were some people that we have worked with and trained recently where they did not have the life experience to do the job that they were trying to get. And I brought that to their attention because I'm not one, I'm not one to put it under the rug. I'm pretty blunt about it. You know what I mean? And I've told that person, I've been like, you need to get some life experience. You need to understand that, like, mommy and daddy paid for everything up to this point and blah, blah, blah. But like, that's not going to help you when you're walking in on some of the stuff and you're doing this job. Like, maybe your dad did it, maybe your mom did it, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. You have to understand.
It seems kind of arrogant for us to say that we've done it, they haven't done it. But it's not. It's not trying to be arrogant.
No.
And you know what? I'm happy to train people and teach people to be good at this job, like the safety stuff on films and do rescues and stuff like that. But it's you can definitely tell the difference. Like guys that have actually had to do stuff and have been in the shit, then you can tell like they're way more disciplined and stuff, and they know when to keep their mouth shut, when to step in and help, and and if an emergency does happen, that they can deal with it rather than oh my god, what do I do? It's like, well, now you're no help. So it's like it has been kind of a training ground here, but for the most part, with a lot of the guys that do come with years of experience, I mean, it's definitely what sets us apart, I think, from a lot of the other safety teams out there. That our guys are, it's hard to beat. Like we do have a great team for sure.
Yeah, and I really think that does make. Again, you either have it or you don't. And there's some people that have 5 years experience, and there's some people that have like 50 years experience, and like some people connect. Like Tommy Sato and I, we were like I honestly thought I was Asian for a little bit because I thought like I was like my mom lied to me because I'm Asian because I'm related to this guy, because we were just like we clicked. And Sean Elliott and I the same way. So
you're ginger. You're a ginger.
Exactly. I got ginger. I got ginger Asian in me.
I think that's Jasian.
Jasian.
That's
you created it. You did.
Oh my Lord.
But no, like we clicked so well, and it was just like somebody who's now both of these guys are retired Marine specialists, and we connected, and I don't have the experience they don't have. I don't have the years behind the wheel or in the field that they do, but we just clicked because we understood and we spoke the same language. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about by, you're either born for it or you're not. It's just like sometimes you click and sometimes you don't. And it was just like, I heard something this morning on the way here to the studio, and it was some bottles of water are $1 at the store. Some bottles of water at the gym are $2. Then there's some bottles of water that are at the airport that are $4. And there are bottles of water that are on the plane that are $7. But it's all the same water because it's not about the water.
It's about how much you're getting paid.
it's about the environment and what people are seeing at the time. And that really clicked with me, that it's that exact thing. It's just like I can go somewhere and I can have the training that I have, and people are like, no, we don't like you. Because I've gone to fire halls and I've had the training I've had, and they brushed me under the rug and just been like, oh, no, we got this. We got this. We're good. Where it's like, okay, you had probably in your time on the fire department have probably had 20 hours on a boat, period.
Yeah.
Right? Where I had 20 hours in the first 2 days this summer.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but you're going to brush me, and we're supposed to be using people for our strengths and our weaknesses, where this person's really good at this, let's make them do this. That's the whole point of a volunteer department. It's just like, this guy works in the trades, he's really good with the tools, let's make him do this, right? Oh, this person's really good with this, let's make him do. That's the whole point of a fire department, being volunteer and using that, getting hired in these people that are have their strengths and their weaknesses, where it's just like, this person has a strength, where we're going to completely push him off to the side and ignore him. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, I've had guys literally where they're a full-time firefighter sitting on the sidelines at a volunteer call where they're just like playing with their thumbs. And it's just like, okay, why aren't we using this guy? Well, we have those other people in there because, you know, they show up on Tuesday night. It's like, who cares if they show up on Tuesday night? She's a massage therapist that hasn't put on gear in like 3 months. You know what I mean? But it's just like, but yet I have a full-time guy for another department that's sitting here playing with his thumbs right now. And it's just like, where like, we don't do that here. We use people where like, this guy's a really good boat operator, let's put him in the wheel. I don't care that he doesn't have as much experience as that person over there. He's really good where that person isn't. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mish. Hey.
I think Misha's
You're
more
quiet
here
over there.
Misha's more here for the meat and potatoes that we get into later with all the conversations.
Just for the third camera angle.
No.
Because we don't really have, I know people are probably going to complain about this, but we don't really have, like, you know, we can't talk about this. This is an open, safe space. So if you want to talk about your ex-girlfriend, you want to talk about your ex-wife, you want to talk about, you know, your boss you can't stand at work, this is a safe spot where you can talk about it. You can say whatever you want. And you know, my mom even complained. She goes, well, why are you going to talk about that? Why are you going to put your stuff on the internet for people to, and I want people to connect with me. I want them to understand me. I have nothing to hide. I'm not fake. I don't need to, you know, I'll be honest about anything because I don't have anything to hide. And you guys know that. Where I just want people to understand and connect and see what I have inside and have them open up to us and be like, you know, and make that difference, because people have made differences in my life that if I didn't have you going through the last year of my life, I wouldn't be here. 100%. I would not be here if you wouldn't have
Where would you be?
Yeah.
I'd be 6 feet under right now. I wouldn't have made it. I understand with my mental health state in the last year and like with Pegasus too, like I would not be here because again, you talk about that brotherhood, and that's almost a lost thing now. Because we have a lot of older guys here where we've had that brotherhood, and we keep it here, but it's a lost thing. Like one of the departments that I've spoken to recently, and they said it's not this hall, it's not that hall, it's just the entire department. There is no brotherhood left in it. Everybody will send you out to roast in that fire and watch you if it can help them get a promotion down the road or help them get on another truck. Yeah. And that is a thing that is so lost. And to have somebody that will actually risk, like I've heard the quote that like you have friends that are 9 p.m. friends, midnight friends, 3 a.m. friends.
Whose car are we taking?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Right. That Ben Affleck when he goes in, oh, we're gonna hurt some people.
You can never ask me
again. But whose car are we taking? And honestly, they write some of the best stuff because of that, and then they understand that risk of the thing. And like even going into that movie, where do you remember the scene in the town where they're going in and then they get out of the car and they're all dressed as these fake nuns with the rubber masks on, and they turn to the cops standing there and just looking at them?
Yeah.
So that actually happened. They interviewed somebody, and that actually was a real thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a real thing, and they put it in the movie because of that. And even the line when they're driving away, and Ben Affleck says, "Why did that cop do that?" And he goes, "Well, he probably didn't want to have cherry pie all over the wall," or whatever the actual quote actually is. That was the actual line that the person telling him the story said. That's why that's what the cop's answer was.
Wow.
So they actually took that and they put that, and I feel like that. Then that's why I like when people write like Taylor Sheridan and all that stuff. They write that stuff because it's actually a true thing and it makes sense and it's good and it's juicy and it's actually from the inside of the understanding of it and stuff like that. But that's what this is going to be.
He's a good writer. Taylor Sheridan.
Honestly, yeah, that's why I got like I don't know if you know this, but she knows. Like I started writing a couple scripts now, and I've only done it because honestly, I was in the same spot where this is where you're going to be, this is who you are, and this is where you're going to stay, and then you're not going to get any farther than that. And I was at the point where I'm like, I'm sitting around, I got a lot of free time. I'm going to put some shit on paper and see if it can do anything. So I've wrote a couple scripts now. I got a TV show that's a cop show that I'm putting forward to a couple of producers, and we'll see if that comes to anything. And then I've got a couple others that are kind of,
It's
here
been
and
his
there.
therapy.
Yeah,
Especially
honestly.
for the last year.
Honestly.
But is there any parts in there for me?
Yeah,
You're
there is
all
actually.
over
Your
it.
name's actually in it. Your name's actually in it. Yeah. No, there's like, again, and that was the thing we were talking about before too, is that like when people write things, is it all true? Is it fabricatable? It's like there are some true things, and you write about the people that are around you and doing this and doing that. Definitely. There's some of it that's, Hollywood, and there's some of it that's true, and there's some of it that has guidelines that's true. But that's what we read on. But it's basically, we're creating right now is a podcast for mental health, for safe space, for anybody to talk, because you can be that person that has that conversation with that other person, where if you didn't have that conversation, they won't be around tomorrow. And that's what I want to prevent, because I've seen too many people not have that conversation with me, not call me, not text me. And it's my fault too, because I don't contact them. I don't talk to them. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't make that step either. I've lost friends. I've lost people because of that. And also I was younger. I didn't understand a lot of things as much as I can understand them now, going through the things that I've gone through in my life. Because again, people told me as a firefighter or a medic or whatever, that like, this is a hard job. And I didn't see it that way. I was just like, no, this job's awesome. This job is, I get to wear a jacket that says Bull on the back and run in without a mask and do all this stuff because who did it? Kurt Russell did it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm guilty of that too, right? At the same time. And you don't think about that. But then you do understand that there is a normal side, a real side of it that's not Hollywood. But then when you actually get to do it, it's a completely other story. And I was super, 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 super good at having the really tough layer of skin that nothing bothers me and I don't have to talk about anything, and I can put it under my hat and not talk about it and ignore it. And I ignored a lot of things for a lot of years without even talking about them at all. Like they never even happened. My death of my grandmother, my best friend, the person that I grew up with, almost raised me. Not to say my parents didn't raise me, but they were like another set of parents. She died of cancer. I watched her die. I helped her a whole way. And I put that under my hat and I act like that day never happened. And I kept going. And I went for like 3.5 years, I think, or 4 years before I was driving home one day and I just snapped. And I went straight to my uncle's house and I had a conversation with him. And I did not have a conversation with him because I cried all the way there. And when he answered the door, he opened the door and I just went in, I hugged him and I cried. I didn't say a word to him. And he just kept saying, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? You're scaring me. What's wrong?" And then I finally had a conversation with him. But I didn't speak about it for years because I ignored it. Didn't happen. Didn't bother me. I'm tough enough. I don't need to talk about it. I didn't have anyone to talk to it about really other than him. You know what I mean? I'm very close to my parents. I have a really good relationship with my parents. And people are always like that too. They're like, oh, if you have a mental health problem, it's because you had a bad upbringing and your parents weren't good to you. No, I had a great upbringing. My parents are great for me. My mom, when I was born, she gave up her job. She stayed home, took care of me. She was there for everything because her mom was not. She had to work. So she didn't want that for me. So she was there for everything. My parents went to all my hockey games, all my baseball games, anything. They supported me. They went when I started my music career. They followed me. They paid for stuff. They helped me along the way. I was fully supported. So I don't have that that Cinderella story kind of thing where didn't have a good upbringing, blah blah blah. So people can't blame it on that. So it's not relatable, and that's what I hate when people are just like, "Oh, well, you had a bad upbringing if you can't handle being a first responder."
Well,
it's like no. It's
the
not
thing
at
is
all.
though, like. I think another thing for you is that like you do consider yourself like a rescuer. Like when other people need help, you're there to help them, right? And so the idea, I know like from my point of view, it's like, okay, this terrible thing happened with your grandmother. And if you break down to like your parents, like you can't be their support structure, So
Mm-hmm.
it's like you kind of hold it in to protect everybody else. And in the end, like, it's like, it's the same way, like talking with some of the guys here where like they'll open up, they'll tell me something that's happened like in their line of work that really affects them, and they're like, I've never spoken to my family about it, I've never told my wife about that, or I've never told my kids, because you're trying to protect them.
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
So then who do you go to?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I couldn't talk about my grandmother with my mom because again, it was going to affect her just as much,
Right.
if not more.
You're
me, right?
protecting her
so
just as
I couldn't
much.
have that conversation with her. I can't talk about it because even like just recently, I can't even remember what the occasion was, but I bought her a book, and it was basically like a mom book where it said like, write down everything that's happened in your life, your story on paper, so that like when you're gone and I can't answer a question, because there's tons of times where my mom would be like, oh, I don't know the answer to that, go ask grandma. That's a grandma question, right? And now when she's gone, I don't have that reference to go off. So I'm like, well, what would grandma say? What would grandma do? Blah, blah, blah. And even sometimes my mom's like, I don't have that answer. I don't know. But so I bought her this book, and it was basically like a mom book. And it was for me to reference when she's gone, but also to give to my kids down the road, so that if grandma's not around, at least you can know these things about grandma. And I bought it for her, and she goes, well, what's this going to do? And she did not like it. She did not like it at all. This is just like, you're putting a nail in my coffin or something. Like, she did not like this book at all. She like threw it to the side and was just like, well, whatever, that's a gift. And my girlfriend at the time, she was just like, well, she doesn't want it, I'll take it. Like, she thought it was a really nice gift, but my mom did not like it. I bought my mom an iPad even, and she didn't like it. So I'm like, I don't know. But
Yeah.
this is basically what holding on for a hero is about. We're going to get into these kind of these subjects and just talk about what we need to talk about and what's going on in the world, whether it's videos, TikTok, Instagram, what's going around. And we're going to create this safe space for everybody, because I feel like this isn't touched upon. Nobody has this. Nobody's doing it, and we need it. So this is the first episode of.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Go
we're
ahead.
here to, kind of the first one, just to kind of to get
Just to outline,
through
just
who
trying to
we are
explain
and
it,
stuff,
yeah.
and a little bit of our background, but it'll get more into the mental health side of it, I'm sure, as
Yeah.
we get going with this. And
Yeah, we just want to kind
Yeah.
of explain it a little bit, and everybody gets an understanding of who we are, what we do, and then we want you guys to get involved. Like we want everybody to get involved with this. This isn't just us having a nice conversation once a week. This is going to serve a purpose, and we're going to raise some money. And we're going to put it towards mental health and some charities and stuff like that. And we're going to get some, t-shirt brands and stuff like that going. And all the money is going to go towards mental health. And we're going to try and create something with Pegasus, with Holding On for a Hero, with our Hero Fit program that we're going to be putting into action soon for mental health. Like, all this stuff is going to be creating a purpose. And this podcast is just one episode to kind of explain it, but it's the beginning of something that I hope is really great. You guys?
You said it. I don't
Said
know
it
what else
all.
to add to that.
Right on. Well, I'll leave you guys to it. I have to go pick up my son. And it's school day.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Holding On for a Hero. We'll see you next time.